This is Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by top trainer Joe Gallagher. Joe, how you doing? Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year, Danny. Hope you had a good one. Good Christmas.
Very nice, thank you. What about you? Did you get some time off?
No, obviously. For me, it felt quite lucky. It fell on a weekend, Saturday, Sunday. So it was just gymnasium Monday to Friday as normal. So I was quite lucky, really.
Well, you've got to have it at least 1 year out of 5 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Although boxing in the UK is currently shut down until the end of January, you've obviously got a huge fight to prepare for. Just 9 days away now as we talk on the Thursday for Callum Johnson, 15th of January, out in the States, challenging Joe Smith Jr. for the WBO light heavyweight title. And it's a cliched question, but one I have to ask: how's he been looking in the gym?
Yeah, like I said the other day in an interview with Callum, it's a huge opportunity. Second bite of the cherry. Training's gone well, and we're just quietly confident of going over there. And I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be. It's a bit. You've got two genuine fighters here who are just normal, hard-working kids who want to be the best, and there's no trash from any of them. The good, solid pros, both can punch, and both sometimes don't know how to take a backward step. So it's only got to lead to an exciting fight. When the fight was first announced, you looked on the timelines on both sides of the Atlantic, and everyone was commentating like, "Oh, this has got to be a 3-round shootout. Joe Smith in 4, Callum Johnson in 3," and it gets you excited to be part of an exciting fight like that. And Callum Johnson's training has been doing well, and we've been working on a few things, but we're not got to turn around and say Callum Johnson's got to become a new Floyd Mayweather or anything else like that. We know what he's good at, and that's what we've got to go with.
How important do you think it was in hindsight that he got those 2 fights under his belt with on the Frank Warren shows just before this?
Yeah, no, massively. Listen, you've got to give huge credit to Frank Warren. There was lots of people questioning the decision of Callum Johnson when I moved them over from Eddie Hearn Matchroom over to Frank Warren. I felt he was just left on the shelf over there. Frank said he'd deliver him a world title fight, and he has done. Obviously, the first one, it was a blowout. Second one, obviously, it's the first time he's done 10 rounds in his career. And it's just mad to think he's had 20 professional fights. That's the first time he's gone 10 rounds. So that's like rounds in the bank, and a chance for us to build that in training camp. So listen, first and foremost, huge thanks to Frank Warren, everyone at Queensborough, BT, Top Rank, Red Star Boxing, and obviously for Team Joe Smith Jr. for giving Callum Johnson the opportunity.
Now, talking of Joe Smith Jr., obviously blue collar guy, very, very likeable. In the ring, what are the problems he could pose?
Well, he's tall, he has a good jab, he punches solid with either hand, either long range or short range with his punches. He's a fighter that's come through a bit of I said the other day, a bit of like an 80s fighter on the way through. He's had his setbacks, he's had good wins, he's lost to Bivol and a couple of others, but he's come back and regrouped, and he's on a red hot run of form at the moment. 3 consecutive wins on the bounce, become world champion, and he's a likeable guy. And he's, as you've seen when he fought Bernard Hopkins, you see him last time out, he finds a way to win, and his confidence is up. And there's talks of Canelo fighting possibly him or BTBF. So for Joe Smith Jr., it's exciting times for him. And sometimes it's hard to be a fighter that's on a run of form and confidence is high and they have that swag about them. But like you say, if they've took their off the ball a little bit, but I can't see that with them and the team, they're very professional in what they do. And like you say, it's just got to make for a great fight.
Now, I know you're not one to blow your own trumpet, but for Callum Johnson, having someone in the corner who's experienced the biggest stages in the past, both at home and abroad, that has to be an asset, surely.
Listen, we've been together 10, 11 years now, and obviously we nearly pulled it off last time when we fought Arto BTBF. And like I say, people forget that was a week later after Callum Smith, George Groves, and I had to leave Callum Johnson for a week whilst I was in Jeddah with Callum Smith, and just them fine little things. We haven't had to do that this time, and we're going in there. Callum Johnson has always kicked himself from after that fight, having BTB having trouble, and then just looking, thinking, wow, I've knocked him down, and he kicks himself in, thinking, why didn't I just go in for the finish? And he knows this time, if there's any chance of a buckle leg, and it has Joe Smith in trouble. He's got a lock on like he did with Frank Buglioni and other opponents in the past. So lessons have been learned. He knows this is all or nothing, and it's a winnable fight. But at the same time, he's got to be smart. Joe Smith Jr. is a good world champion.
Now, I wanted to talk to you about some of the other light heavyweights, because should Callum be successful next week, people are already talking about, potential defences against some of the top UK light heavyweights. What did you make of the rematch between Anthony Yarde and Lyndon Arthur recently?
Listen, huge congrats to Anthony Yarde. He came out and he put things right that was wrong first time round. I was surprised for him to come out, and we all said that he had to do that. Everyone was saying, well, if he came out and do that, looking through previous fights with Kovalev, would he empty the tank? The most famous saying from them, that would he be able to do it for 12 rounds? But he didn't. He came out from round one, set about it. I thought Lyndon did well in rounds 2 and 3. I thought he was beginning to tie him up and drain him and lean on him and pull on him. And I thought, Anthony Yarde by 8 or 9 keeps doing this. He's got to drag him out of that momentum that he wanted to be in, and jab and catch him with shots on the way in. But no, Anthony Yarde, after 2 or 3 rounds, he managed to break free and then set about throwing punches and bunches to stop Anthony, to stop Lyndon holding him. But it was a good win for Anthony Yarde, and obviously now he's become mandatory WBO #1.
How much interest is there from yourself and from Callum in having those kind of big domestic fights? You've been involved in many of them yourself in the past. Or is he just keen to establish himself on the world stage more so and unify potentially?
Yeah, I think Callum Johnson, not talking for him, but we have talked in the past, he's always wanted the BTBF rematch. That is one. We accepted a Bivol fight. That never materialised. So I think Callum Johnson... listen, we can't look past Joe Smith Jr., but hypothetically, Callum Johnson beats Joe Smith Jr. Of course, he wants to come back. He's always wanted to fight in Boston. He always wants to fight at the Dome in Boston, which Elton John made a song about. Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting. He'd love to defend his world title there at the O2 or Manchester Arena. Of course, he would, against the likes of, like you said, Anthony Yarde. But if there's a Art or BTBF unification match, I'm sure he'd want to take that, because he feels, after being in with him, that he let himself down in that fight. But he'd want to put things right with that. But listen, first things first, we've got Joe Smith Jr. and we can't look past that.
And talking about domestic light heavyweights, I think last time we spoke, we, in passing at least, talked about Callum Smith, who you used to work with, and his chances up at light heavyweight, which I think you were quite enthused about. If that ever became a possibility, Callum Johnson against Callum Smith, would you be...
Happen. That won't happen. No.
Just from your point of view?
Just Callum Johnson and Callum Smith are too good of friends to fight that. I've already spoke to Callum Johnson. He said that won't happen, and I've heard that Callum Smith has also said that would never happen either.
Is that a relief for you? It'd be quite emotionally difficult, I
wouldn't want no part of that. It's like the time with John Murray and Anthony Crolla. I didn't want no part of that, and I wouldn't want no part of that neither.
I don't blame you. I wanted to ask you about a couple of things outside of the light heavyweight division as well. Paul Butler obviously had that projected fight out in Dubai. A lot of issues took place around it. Didn't end up fighting in the end. Just tell us what happened there from your perspective.
Nothing. Paul Butler went over, made weight. Casemiro turned up on the Monday. Straight away went on a running machine, was asking for a sauna. On the running machine again on the Tuesday. Wednesday evening, we seen him in the canteen, but his head was in his hands. He looked darkness around his eyes. Looked really fatigued. Was in a sauna on, I think it was Wednesday night. Thursday morning, we heard it then on the Friday morning. Then that he got took to the hospital Friday morning at 2:00 in the morning. everyone could see in the hotel that week he was severely dehydrated. There was rumours he was got to fail make weight, and he did do. They tried to put Joseph Abeko into the fight, which huge credit to Paul Butler, who's trained to fight Casamayor. They offered him Joseph Abeko, who was there to fight for it if they can get the belt vacated and get Casamora stripped, but they just couldn't do that. And Paul Butler, fair play to him. And I said over there, listen, for Paul Butler to say Casamora to pull out and then you bring Abeko, I said that'd be very much like Carl Frampton going over to fight Santa Cruz. He pulls out and they say, oh, here's the name. And for him to say, a lot of fighters would have turned away and said, no, we want a fight camp. But Paul Butler was enthusiastic. He was over there. He wanted to win a world title. He had his heart set on winning a world title. And it was like till 3:15 on the Saturday until the decision was made. And that was when, after speaking to Paco, the WBO, that they couldn't strip Casamora. He had 10 days to appeal and put evidence through that he can make weight and that it wasn't through dehydration. And that was it. So the ruling was Casamora was still world champion. Paul Butler was still mandatory. And we should hear any day soon now, Pabellium on a new fight date for Paul Butler. So listen, it was a gutting time for Paul Butler. He was really gutted. He didn't go to the show. I just said, go with your missus and go and have some food. He was absolutely gutted. He knew he was up against it, but training had gone well. And obviously then that didn't happen. And then they thought, well, Abeko's there. And Joseph Abeko, former world champion, ranked high in the WBO, good fighter, stiff hitter. And Paul was still willing to give it a shot as long as the belt was vacant, but they couldn't. All they could offer was just an interim belt. And Paul hadn't gone there for an interim belt. He'd gone there to become a world champion.
You expect him to get his shot once again this year?
Yeah, 100%. WBO, I've got Prebell in 15 days to a new date and venue.
Good stuff. Natasha Jonas, when are we likely to see her make her boxer return or debut or whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, well, she made a little debut there just to get the cobwebs off, really. She'd been in the gym since June before Christmas in the 6th rounder. Spoke to her the day she's in the gym, and there's talks going on at the moment that possibly she'll be out in February, early March. So listen, I'll leave Natasha and the team up to that. But she's in the gym, she's training, and I seen in an interview she said this is her last push this year. So like you say, Natasha, I was quite disappointed over the festive season and the New Year's honours. A lot of governing bodies, magazines, websites, all really ignored, really, apart from Boxing News. Natasha Jonas versus Katie Taylor fight last year. At the time, it was one of the fights of the year. It saved that show with Chisora Parker first time round. If you remember the timelines and social media and everything else, they all said what a bad fight Parker Chisora was and what a great fighter Taylor Tasha was. And then it comes at the end of the year, they weren't getting mentioned at all. So I was pleased Boxing News this week, anyway, acknowledged it as the British-Irish female fight of the year. So it deserved more plaudits and acknowledgement than what it did receive.
Another cracking British fight I say British fight, I don't want Katie Taylor's fans to hate me, but another great domestic fight, shall we say, that you were involved in is Hosea Burton and Dan Aziz. Really thrilling fight. Obviously didn't go your man's way, unfortunately. How's he getting on since that setback?
Jose, listen, everyone could see on the night. Listen, Dan Aziz, I like Dan Aziz. He's a good fighter. He's a good British champion. And listen, he's come along well. Everyone could see in the ring that night, Jose Burton struggled to make the weight. I'm not going to make complaints because they'll say, oh, well, you shouldn't have made him fight. But this is the trouble that we're having at the moment. And we need to get this new weight division. We've seen it with Ward against Bolotniks as well in the dead at the weight. Enzo Macronelli was famous for it. Not big enough for cruiserweight, but too big for light heavyweight and dead at the weight. We've got to get that bridge weight, whatever you want to call it, in at 13 stone 5 in this country. You can't go 11 stone, 11 7, 12 stone, 12 7, 14 4. You've got 16 stone men coming down to 14 4. You look at Lawrence Okoli now talking about moving up to heavyweight. And then you've got people that necessarily never go no more than 14 stone, Jose Burton being one of them. So 13.5, which is bang in the middle of two of them, that would be an ideal weight for them. And that WBC weight, like you say, would be ideal for Jose Burton. And it isn't just Jose Burton. There's other fighters that's caught in between no man's land. It's too much medically wise to go up against a cruiserweight, to go up against a 16-stone man that boils down to 14-4. Do you understand? You look at the size of Lawrence McCaulay, like I just said to you, Richard Riapo, the size of him now, he's beginning to big up and fill out on development. And yeah, listen, Jose Burton's gone away, had a break, and he's got to think about what he wants to do. If he's going to eat himself up into the cruiserweight division, we'll just have to wait and see, but I'll leave that with him. The trouble with that, touching on it as well, Dan, Jose Burton was going fighting for the British title, a chance to be two-time. It was a huge ask because we knew making the weight against Andy. But if he never took it after winning the Conroy, what was there for him? Christmas was coming, paydays. If he said no, I'm going up to cruiserweight, do you think Eddie Hearn was going to give him an opportunity against Callum Smith or anyone like that? No, he wasn't. Do you understand? So what, he'd be on the circuit for 6, 8, 10 rounds in the cruiserweight circuit before he got a British title shot of some sort. So listen, all credit to Dan Aziz. He did what he had to do, and we'll soon see what Jose Burton will do.
Now, just before I let you go, the board, as I alluded to at the start, have suspended all boxing tournaments for the month of January, hoping to come back next month. What did you make of that decision?
I think it's wrong, to be honest. I think it's wrong. I see amateur boxing is allowed to have the shows there going on. I think it's the only sport in the country that's suspended. I think football's still going on stadiums. You're seeing it with the darts. I think maybe the board, not calling it, but they're based in Wales and they're mostly going on what the Welsh law is being governed by anything else, and they're not thinking about England here. And for shows, I know it's put back to February, but that's all right for the big hitters like Sky, Eddie Hearn and stuff like that. But for your small hall and fighters to train and build up, so yeah, some smaller shows won't be till March. So you've got people that's fought before Christmas or haven't fought since October, November. They've got to fight till March. That's 5 months, and wages need to be paid, mortgages need to be paid. We all see the inflation rate is going up, energy bills are going up, the cost of living's going up, and to take, I'm not generally saying that January is a bumper month for boxing, but I'm sure that there were shows there. 4 fighters, 2 could have gone out, journeymen, contenders, prospects, or whatever. But listen, that's the ruling the British Board of Control made, and yeah, I don't know whether it was a knee-jerk reaction or what, but we're the only sport to, as far as I'm aware, to of suspended for a month.
When are you next planning to put a show on?
Well, do you know what? We were talking about that yesterday in the gymnasium, and most probably March time is what we're looking at the moment. So I'm really excited the type of show that it's got to be as well. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just busy at the moment now, obviously with Callum Johnson, and then also we've got McCaulay McGowan against Sergio Martinez on January the 27th in Madrid, and huge admiration for McCaulay McGowan. People don't realise, obviously, he was a good amateur, won numerous national titles, went 14-0 as a professional. Mm-hmm. Then he took the Kazakh job away, come back, lost to Conway. I was most probably becoming more famous in boxing for doing his ring walk for that fight and asking what the Man City score was. And obviously, since he's come to me now, we tried to get him a job before Christmas. It didn't really work out, but we've managed to get the Sergio Martinez fight. Now, McCaulay McGowan, listen, what he goes through, he comes to the gym on a Monday morning, he does his session, trains well, everything else, and he's back out working on the building site by midday. And then he works, then he meets me for his sprints after work. Tuesday, his S&Cs run. Wednesday, works, do you know what I mean? Gym sparring, work. Thursday, work. So he's fighting the biggest fight in his life against Sergio Martinez, out in all conditions. Today, it's been snowing up here and sleeting and raining, training, sparring, everything to do the best that he can do to provide money and income. And when you asked me then about fighters fighting in January, here's McCaulay McGowan. He can't afford to have time off work for Sergio Martinez fight because bills still need to be paid. So he's in the gym for 2 or 3 hours and he's back on a building site. And I have huge admiration for him. Like last night, he was on Charlton Arena and putting his sprints in. After doing a good 8-round sparring yesterday morning, then went on the building site yesterday afternoon, finished, came straight to the marina, got out of his kit, put his trainers on, and did his running, and then went home. And that's a proper throwback professional fighter. I know there's lots of professional fighters up down the country, but getting ready for Sergio Martinez and working on a building site, and what are we, 3 weeks away today from him fighting? And that's the camp McCaulay McGowan's having at the moment. But bills have to be paid, and Sergio Martinez isn't got to give him life-changing money, but it's a huge opportunity for him. We're both off the same estate in Benchill, Wythenshawe, one of the worst council estates around. And it's amazing. I think it was 40 years ago, me and his dad fought in the same amateur show, and here we are 40 years later, and I'm taking his lad over to Madrid to take on Sergio Martinez. So it is a proper rocky story for McCaulay McGowan, and he's training well, and we're really looking forward to that fight in Madrid.
Well, very best of luck with that one as well. Let's catch up again after the two fights have taken place and kind of look back on them, hopefully with two winners in the camp.
Yeah, no, definitely. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Listen, it's a huge ask from McCaulay and Callum Johnson, but Callum's been there before, and McCaulay. Listen, it's a huge opportunity for him, and in boxing, anything can happen.